from Transformers Collaborative. This is Party Wallop, the crossover with the Ninja Turtles, and I'll be honest, I didn't realize 2024 was also the 40th anniversary of Ninja Turtles. So, 40th anniversary for both the Ninja Turtles and Transformers. It's kind of fun that this gets to be one of the figures for both of the brands. Looking around the box, you can see that you have Party Wallop down here, you have the Ninja Turtles, and then up above, of course, you do have the Transformers branding. Here on the side, you see the accessories. And then on the back, you can see, one, this is what Party Wallop is supposed to look like. But, let's say you don't necessarily want Party Wallop, let's say you just want a cool-looking mecha of the Ninja Turtles. You can see they've given you the pieces to do any of the Turtles. You could do Raph, you could do Leo, you could do Mikey, you could do Donnie. Me, personally, I like that Collaborative are all unique characters, you know? For instance, I'm glad that Gigawatt isn't just Doc Brown. I'm glad that Maverick isn't just Tom Cruise. I like the fact that Party Wallop isn't one of the actual Ninja Turtles. But if you're a Ninja Turtle fan and would prefer it, you can definitely do it. But I think that also means you're going to be buying a $50 figure 4 times. I will level with you guys. I was not expecting much here. I'm a fair-weather Ninja Turtle fan. I'm not a huge fan of the franchise. As for Transformers Collaborative, there's been a handful I've really enjoyed, but not many. But this is just a really nice robot. The proportions bring more to mind for me Energon and Cybertron with how big, boxy, blocky he is. Alongside that, he's a dense-feeling figure. Not as dense as a Cybertron figure, mind you, but dense for modern figures. And he has so many different options that's actually kind of crazy. Now, this is what he looks like when you pull him right out of the box. The figure is more or less complete, but there are a couple of things that you can put on aside from what we have here. But just looking at the general figure, obviously you can see the parts that are Ninja Turtle. You kind of have the front of the shell here in the torso. Obviously, the head is very Ninja Turtle inspired, straight up doing Raphael's old toy mouth. His proportions, you have the turtle feet down here, and then on the back, you got the turtle shell, alongside these two guns. I'm trying to figure out who he reminds me of, and what I'm thinking is he reminds me of Trail Cutter. Specifically, it's the backpack with the guns pointing up. He totally reminds me of Trail Cutter. But this isn't how he is supposed to look technically. Now we go here to the back. We have a couple of extra pieces to put on. We have this kind of red radar looking thing that's going to go right up here on the shell. Oop. If I can get it in. Ooh, it's tight, but it does go. There we are. And then here at the bottom of the shell is where we're supposed to put the spoiler for the Party Wagon. So we'll put that in. I'm putting that in backwards right now. Let me fix that. There we are. Okay, so we got that done. Alongside that, we do have the front of the Party Wagon. You can see that we have this piece here that is both a piece of pizza and the Ninja Turtle logo. It's supposed to go in like this to complete the look of the Party Wagon, but the pizza can be its own accessory. As for the front of the van, you can either fold this down, come on, and turn this into a shield, so kind of like a Earthrise cliff jumper, or we can take it back off the arm, fold down that tab, and then put it on the front to make him look a little bit more Transformery and a little less Ninja Turtle-y. I like it. I think I prefer how he looks without the car right here, because now this just looks a little too much like a Wish.com Inferno, but it is nice to have the option. A big thing this figure excels at is articulation. You look at him and he looks like a box, but there's a lot more going on than you'd think. So we have a ball joint at the head that does get you good motion. You can even kind of get a confused look if you want. You have a universal at the shoulder, as well as this armor piece that can get out of the way. And you have an upper arm cut. You have a single jointed elbow that doesn't quite give you 90. You have a wrist swivel, and it can go inward. Oh wait, no it cannot. No it cannot. You just have the swivel. You also have a waist swivel, universal at the hip, upper leg cut, a single knee that goes a little bit past the 90 actually, and then down here we have back and forth at the ankle and side to side. So he's definitely able to strike a pose. The only question is, what do we put on him? Also, my big issue with some of these poses, just to tackle this right now, the shell gets untabbed pretty easily, and that just comes down to how the armor on the shoulder is working. But even still, he can look nice, even if you sometimes have to cheat the angles. A thing I mentioned earlier is that you have nice options on this figure. Well, we've not even begun to talk about options. So I mentioned the shield, you can pop this off and boom, you have a pizza. You can kind of balance it in his hand if you want him to have it, but he doesn't really have a way to properly hold it. But alongside that, we have an absolute treasure trove of weapons. We have a bow staff, so that's Donnie's weapon. We have a pair of nunchucks, which is Mikey's weapons. Also, I think this is the first time since Animated Prowl that we've had nunchucks in Transformers. We have a couple of sai, so those are rafts, and a couple of katana. Now, there are places to store all these weapons, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But the other big thing that you can customize about this figure is, if you want, it doesn't have to be Party Wagon, it could be one of the other turtles. So, why don't we start talking about weapons and how we can potentially build up a turtle. Like I said, Party Wallop has quite a few weapons. Where can we put them? To store the nunchucks, we're going to lift up the armor here and just put the nunchucks inside the shoulder armor. You can see they fit like that. Fold it back down, concealed. You can do the same thing over here, and that is both sets of nunchucks taken care of. Is it nunchucks or nunchuck? I forget what the plural would be. In any case, boom, completely hidden away. As for the sai, we're actually going to be looking here at the skirt kibble. So on the hips, we can take the tab of the sai and put it right beside where the wheels are. And now those do stick out a little bit more. It's not quite as clever as where they hid the nunchucks, but that's still decent enough. As for the katana, you might notice they have tabs here on the blade. You have a slot here on the back of the shell, and we're just going to put the swords into that angled slot. It is kind of hard to get the angle just right, but it does slide in. Oop. Let's see here. Come on. There we go. All right. Well, that's 3 out of 4 pairs, but where do we put the bow staff? To put away the bow staff, we're first going to fold this down. And also, I cheated the process a bit. We're going to take the swords back out and fold these guns down. And then flip this up. And inside the shell is where we are going to store the staff. You can see here that in the staff there is this opening. There's a slot here. We're just going to put that right in. Alongside that, you might notice that there's these 4 ports here. That's for the turtle scalps. So, even when you're not using the alternate headpieces, you can fit all 4 of them down here. Which means that once this guy has everything put on him, there is storage for not just every weapon, but every alternate piece and switch-in part. That is amazing. That is incredible. It's something I wish every Transformer would do, is give us a spot just to store these things when we are not using them. So let's say you want to make this one of the Ninja Turtles. I have the Leonardo head sculpt, just because Leonardo is my favorite turtle. What we do is you literally just take off the head of Party Wallop and switch in the new head. As you can see, it is a different mold with a smaller forehead to accommodate a more accurate proportion for the Ninja Turtle at hand. So they pack in the bandanas and weapons for all 4 of the turtles, but there is an extra step. You see, we'll take off the front of Party Wallop again. Oh, there we go. And then, if we were to pull out this piece, one sec. Here we go. You pull up the belt buckle, and you'll notice not only do they have the right belt buckles for every one of the Ninja Turtles, but then you're able to then lower it back down, and boom, you have the right belt. The blue L for Leonardo, the red R for Raph, the orange M for Mikey, and the purple D for Donnie. I adore that. It's such a little thing. And you can see, it is a pretty complex piece. It will go down the entire way, and you just slide over to the one you want. So, really, when you think about it, you can make the argument this is a 5-in-1 robot mode. Because it is Party Wallop, the generic turtle, as well as all 4 of the other turtles, and they give you the bandana, the belt, and the weapons, which, to be fair, most of the time, especially for classic turtles, that was the only way you could tell them apart. With that in mind, here's Leonardo, here's Raphael, here's Donatello, and here's Michelangelo. Now, I've been singing a lot of praises about this guy, but let me tell you some actual serious issues he has. 1. All of these weapons are way too tight in his hands, and specifically, the nunchucks very nearly broke on me just trying to get them back out. That is a serious issue. Alongside that, he is just Kibble City. You can't move any of his limbs without colliding into something, and it does make more dynamic poses really hard. The worst bit is the backpack. Yes, it's cool that it's a turtle shell. Yes, I enjoy that. But it does mean that he has a hard time doing anything without having armor bits having to try to force their way past each other. There are a lot of things I really like about this figure. I enjoy his design. I enjoy all the options you have for cosmetics. I like all his weapons. I love the fact he can store all his weapons. But he is not the cleanest of figures. Then again, maybe that's not that massive a problem. Sure, he's not a premium figure. He's not going to go with your more serious action figures, your NECAs, and your modern generations. But then again, you put him with the Mutant Mayhem turtles or some of the more cartoony turtles, and he fits right in. His goofiness and issues as an action figure don't actually clash all that much with proper Playmates Ninja Turtles. A lot of the issues these figures have, you have here with Party Wallop. And in a weird way, that does kind of give them some synergy. Alongside that, are you honestly going to tell me he doesn't look kind of at home with G2 figures? I mean, you put some G2 Universe guys around him, it's just a big collection of dumb 90s action, and it kind of works for me. With his proportions and general design, I'd even argue he looks pretty good with the kid Transformers. I mean, you put him on an Earthspark shelf, he's not going to be the odd one out. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, yes, he's flawed, he's not a perfect Transformer, but he's hitting so many great notes, and oh my god, he has a vehicle mode. The transformation sums up a lot of my issues with the figure. Yes, it is fun. Yes, I enjoy how it looks, but that was a bit of a nightmare. There was a lot of really clever bits, but there's also a lot of times where the panels just don't move past each other, or you can't get the tabs to work. Even right now, that roof just will not tab down for me. That is where it's supposed to go. It is as flush as I can get it, and it keeps popping up. Yeah. Alongside that, the armor for the shoulders are nightmares, and I can't get these wheels to be entirely flush. Alongside that, you can see it's very easy to pop panels out of place. It is accurate to the Party Wagon for what that is worth, so it's decent, and again, I wouldn't even say it's a bad transformation. I'd say it's a transformation that is depending on tolerances that just aren't there. If the tabs were a bit stronger, or could pop into place a bit easier, then I think this would actually be a decent transformation. And I think the actual engineering of it is actually really clever. It's just a mess. It's a bloated thing. Fun, enjoyable, interesting, but bloated. Kind of like the robot mode. And yet, that robot mode is still just so enjoyable that I can't bring myself to really knock this figure all that much. He's not a perfect figure, not even close. I'd hesitate to even call him a great figure, but he is a fun figure. $50 is steep. I think that it's worth it for just how hefty the guy is and how many accessories you get. I would honestly though recommend trying to get him on sale. I feel like $40 would be good, $30 would be a steal. $50, I do see the value here, but I also think that he's just impaired enough to where I don't know if I say he warrants being only $5 less than a leader class figure. But at the same time, when you turn that off and just look at the figure, it is just a big, doofy, dumb action figure. And sometimes that's all you need. The only question now really is, does this guy go with my Ninja Turtles or with the G2 figures?